Once when I was in school, I was witness to an event that I think about quite a lot these days, considering how minor it was. Someone in my class, it was my Latin class, so it was quite a small class, and the teacher was a little bit crazy. Someone in the class had hiccups, and rather than just ignoring it, the teacher decided to employ the whole class to just halt what we were doing and get the whole class to participate in curing this student's hiccups. And the way she did it, which I've never heard anyone else do, not by giving him a fright or making him drink a glass of water or, do whatever. She got everyone in the class to look at him, to stare at him simultaneously. And it worked. And I don't know if there's a scientific basis for that, but if I had to hazard a guess as to why it worked, if it wasn't just a coincidence, I think that the power of all of our collective attention focused on this student probably had a similar effect to frightening him, in the sense that people say that if you frighten someone that they'll be cured of hiccups. I think being observed by many people is probably, I think it triggers something inside the mind that makes us feel very self-conscious and will suppress urges that we have, such as sneezing and hiccuping and burping and farting and anything that would draw more attention to ourselves or to create a sudden noise. I think that's why it works. And the reason I think about it a lot is partly because I think about it every time I get the hiccups, which I think is like maybe a little bit more than average. It seems to happen to me a lot. But I also think about it when I consider the effect of being self-conscious and the effect that being observed by someone else can have on people. One of the best videos I've made on this channel, and that's in terms of my own personal opinion and also in terms of how well the video performed in terms of views and watch time and comments. It was a very well accepted video. It was about makeup and about Jordan Peterson's comments on makeup being a sexual signal on the part of women, and whether men and women can work in the same workplace together, that sort of thing. I think it was a good video in my opinion, and I still stand by everything I said in that video. If you haven't seen it, I think you probably should have, but if you haven't seen it, my basic thesis was that women have a not quite a compulsion, but an instinct to try to improve how they look when being observed by other people, not just by men, and not just by men they're sexually attracted to or that they would like to be attractive to, but people in general. The women will put on makeup often to see their female friends, to see their relatives, their family. They'll put on makeup in places where they do not expect to find eligible men to seduce, and that the tendency to do that is based on an instinct that makes all people, but perhaps especially women, want to look as good as possible when being viewed by other people, or even just when they're alone to some extent. I feel like that video was incomplete in that it didn't answer the question of why women do not wear makeup when they are alone, when they don't expect to encounter any other human beings, or if they were left on a desert island by themselves, or if they were the last person alive on Earth, and such thought experiments as those. It seems hard to believe that a woman would bother putting on makeup or shaving her legs in a situation where she's the last person on Earth, for instance.
Crud. We may be the last two normal people on Earth. At least I won't have to trim my elbow talons anymore.
And that's what I want to make this video for. It's a kind of addendum. Is that the right word? It's a part 2. Where I go a little bit deeper into this matter, kind of bringing it full circle to that question of whether women do wear makeup to impress other people or to impress men. But I think this question doesn't just extend to makeup, it extends to all aspects of self-improvement, to our identity, to our behavior, but perhaps especially to how we look to other people in the superficial sense, where we wear clothes that other people will like, we drive cars that we think will impress other people, and quite often people will repeat interesting facts that they think will make them sound clever and interesting, or they will express opinions that they think are fashionable or that they think other people will appreciate them for. And just like in my first video on makeup, I'd like to emphasize that I don't think people necessarily do this consciously. I think a lot of this behavior of vanity, you could call it broadly, of making ourselves look better to other people, superficially and a bit more deeply, I think we do it automatically without thinking about it. After thinking about this matter a lot, I have, I guess, revised my theory of why women wear makeup and why people feel the need to improve their appearance in general. And rather than it being an innate need that is always there, I think it's something that is triggered by the observation by other people. So the presence of another human kind of activates that voice in our head that is simulating what that person is thinking of you. I don't know if I've worded that right. I'll say it again. When you're alone, you're probably not thinking about what you look like. If you see yourself in the mirror, you might pass a few judgments on yourself. You might notice a few things about yourself that you don't like or that you like, depending on how much you like your own appearance. But once another person is introduced, depending on your temperament, the instinct might be stronger or weaker. But I think the introduction of an observer will turn on the self-consciousness that is in your mind, and that voice in your head, that self-conscious voice, I think takes on all of the cultural impressions and expectations that you imagine the other person has about you. And I think what often happens is that people overestimate how much they are being observed just by being outside in public and interacting with people who probably aren't even looking in their direction. They're probably off in their own mind, thinking about themselves, thinking about their own lives, not really paying much attention to the people around them. But to you, to a person who is self-conscious, you might imagine that the people around you are judging you constantly. I think the degree to which this effect is present in people is probably corresponds to the trait neuroticism, which I have on good authority is slightly more common in women than men. That is to say that it's the average woman has a slightly higher neuroticism than the average man. And so women are more likely to feel self-conscious either when they're alone or when they're around other people. I think this trait of neuroticism is one of the ways that I personally fall slightly closer to the male average perhaps than I do the female average. I don't make these assumptions about other people viewing me negatively and judging me. Although I see all of the same beautiful women on posters and in magazines and on Instagram, and I see how I see all of society's expectations for how beautiful women should be. I don't take that personally, and I don't pass those judgments very harshly on myself. So when I see myself with a plain face with no makeup on, I think I look good enough, at least. I don't have any negative impressions associated with my appearance. And although I know that upwards of 1,000 people are going to watch this video, it doesn't bother me too much that the sun is making my brow crease and making me look kind of cross. I know it looks a bit weird, but it just doesn't bother me that much. But that does bring me around to another aspect of this that I think is kind of interesting, which is the effect of social media and especially YouTube on the mind, because the the observer effect that that I talked about earlier in the video, it doesn't seem to be nearly as strong when you're on your own talking to a webcam. Even though intellectually you know that thousands of people are going to see it, it doesn't really feel real in that way. It's not the same as being in a room full of 1,000 people who are right there. And I mean, there's a sense in which the editing process protects you. So if you, if I do a burp or if I say something wrong, I stutter on a sentence, I can just edit it out. And there's a safety net there that protects you from that. But even on a live stream, when I can see that there are, well, for my live streams, it's usually only 60 people at maximum who are watching. It doesn't feel like there are 60 people watching, though. It feels like, I don't know what it feels like. There isn't really a good analog for real life, but it's much more distracting to have one person in person who is actually there listening to what I'm saying than it is to sit here with my webcam on my own with no one listening. Except for the thousands of people who are going to watch this later. So far, I've only talked about the negative emotions associated with being observed by other people and being judged, but there is also a positive component to being observed when you believe that the judgment is going to be positive. When you believe yourself to be attractive and beautiful, it's a pleasure to be observed by other people, which is, I think, where a lot of the confusion comes in with makeup and vanity, is that the rise of social media and people sharing pictures of themselves and adjusting those pictures to be unrealistically amazing, to take out the blemishes and to accentuate the beauty of the photo. People do that because it's pleasurable to be viewed positively by other people, but as far as I can tell, most of the time, I think participating in this engineering of one's own self-image is more to mitigate the negative effects than to promote the positive effects. I haven't been able to find any specific research on this subject, but I'm interested in it. Not just the social media, YouTube aspect, but self-consciousness in general. This observer effect and the reason that people feel the need to look impressive to other people without really even having to think about it. It's possible that I'm not getting the language exactly right, so if you are watching this and you know what the psychologists are calling this kind of phenomenon, that might help me to be able to Google it and to read up on it, because, like I said, it's a subject I'm interested in, and if there is no research into it, I'd love to see psychologists researching it at some point. But that's all I have to say for now, so as always I will thank you very much for watching. I invite all and any comments that you'd like to leave under this video, and I hope to see you again very soon.